Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Electrified Outdoors. As you can see, I'm in a new Rivian R1S. Now, my wife did decide to go with the dual motor max pack instead of the tri-motor, mainly because of all the incentives Rivian was offering. The incentive wound up being an additional $3,500 off the price of the vehicle. We did a 2-year lease, and I believe the leasing rate was actually lower as well. Now, I'm going to make a separate video going over the leasing numbers with you guys to show you what kind of lease we got. We did use our referral rewards to get the lease payment down, and that's thanks to all the viewers like you who have used our referral code. I'll put that down in the video description as well as up on the screen. It tremendously helps our channel in creating content that you like and enjoy. And if there is content that you want to see that we're not showing you yet, go ahead and let us know down in the comments section or send us an email to info@evoutdoors.org. We did get the dual motor max pack. My wife wanted it to look almost exactly like her Gen 1 quad motor. I'm going to do a couple of different videos on this vehicle. This vehicle is going to allow us to create a lot of additional content for you guys. Especially around the driver assistance, because that's something that I think a lot of folks value in an EV. When you're on the highway, it makes long road trips so much less stressful when you have that advanced driver assistance software. We decided to get another Rivian mainly because of how Rivian responded to the part supply issue with my wife's vehicle. The other reason why we decided to get another Rivian is plain and simple, folks. The owners, the other owners in the community, we go to a lot of Rivian events and I get to meet a lot of different Rivian owners, and I haven't met one Rivian owner yet that I didn't like. All just totally awesome people. Really enjoy seeing them and spending time with them and getting to know them and what they like and value in the Rivian vehicle. And of course, as you know, the vehicle is totally awesome. And lastly, Rivian has promised that they are improving the service. They are opening additional service centers. I think Rivian finally realizes how important the service aspect is to potential owners. Okay, folks, so I'm just going to go over some of the issues that I see in the vehicle, you know, after taking delivery of it. The exterior looked mostly good. The two big things that I was kind of concerned about were alignment and wheel balancing. Those are two things that I've had issues with on previous Rivians and that I've seen folks post online that they've had issues with. So I will tell you, the wheel balance does seem like it is a little off. I am getting some vibration in the steering wheel, not a ton, but there is some vibration and some rumbling, especially above 70 or 75 miles an hour. Not sure if you can see that steering wheel wiggling back and forth, but it's pretty noticeable. The other thing I notice is, and I don't know if it's just the road that I'm on, but the steering wheel seems to have to be held a little bit off to the left in order to keep the vehicle going straight. It's almost like it's a pull to the right. However, when I'm in the left lane now, it seems okay. But the wheel balance is definitely off, and it's kind of disappointing because this has been an ongoing issue with Rivian. But again, it is kind of minor, so I'm not overly concerned about it. When I had the problem in the past, I made an appointment, took it into the service center, and Rivian was able to address it fairly quickly and resolve it. So I'm not worried about this. I'm going to schedule a service center appointment for that. A couple other notes on this purchase is my wife opted to go for the sound and vision package because she wanted the dynamic glass roof and the premium audio. She also got the air compressor as part of that. So this vehicle is very comparable to her Gen 1 quad motor. Now, another thing I want to point out, folks, is when I picked up the vehicle from the Rivian factory, the navigation was offline. So I couldn't search, couldn't do anything with that. And I had to do an infotainment reset. And I just did that at the charging stop, the first charging stop that we made. However, when I did that, the navigation was fixed, but now it's not showing me any information about my drivetrain. But other than those kind of minor issues, I don't see anything else glaring that sticks out that it's a problem with the vehicle. Again, I really wish Rivian would have these vehicles completely sorted when they get delivered to the customer, because the problem is when you have the issues with long service wait times and you are delivering a vehicle to a customer that has minor but still has issues that need to be addressed by service, that's immediately giving the customer a not so good experience. So I really wish Rivian would take some more time in quality control and try to get these issues sorted. The wheel balancing and the alignment seem to have been common issues going all the way back to when they first started producing vehicles, the alignment especially. I know that my R1T had an alignment issue, and that was well over 2 years ago now. So nonetheless, it's something Rivian really needs to address so that the customer is not immediately having to take the vehicle into service after they get delivery of it. So I have the Rivian Autonomy Platform, the Highway Assist enabled, and one of the recent updates enabled hands-free operation. So as you can see, I have my hands off, and you'll know that the hands-free is available because in the driver's display, you'll see a steering wheel with a little car on top and two hands, one on each side. And that tells you it's in hands-free. You will still need to keep your eyes on the road, keep focused on the road. It does know when you're looking away and it will prompt you. So the hands-free is really a nice feature. And I'm really looking forward to all the updates that Rivian is going to do to the Rivian Autonomy Platform. This is also the platform that's going to go into the R2. So all the work that Rivian is putting into R1 right now is going to make it into R2, and I'm hoping that with all the additional R2 vehicles that are going to be out there, Rivian's going to really be able to get some good data back and really dramatically and quickly improve the Rivian Autonomy Platform. So I'm just going to lock this in, and my efficiency has been really low, unfortunately, using this autonomy platform. I don't know. So I have it in, and now you see that it's giving me this animated notice to take my hands off the wheel. And when I do, I get this notice that Enhanced Highway Assist is now on and that I need to be focused on the road. And the graphic on the screen is somewhat changed as well. And I'm just going to let this go to kind of give you an idea of how it works. So far, before I started recording this video, I tested it out several times and it works very well. If I look away and look at like the scenery or something on the side of the road, it knows and it'll prompt me to, hey, you know, pay attention. And so it's not, you know, take your hands off the wheel and take a nap. Don't recommend that. Don't even try it, folks. But it is take your hands off the wheel, like GM Super Cruise and like Ford's Blue Cruise software. You can take your hands off the wheel and it will do all the driving for you. I did have one time where it notified me that I needed to take control, and I think that's just because it was transitioning from one highway to another. But as you can see, it works very well. I'm not touching the steering wheel at all. In fact, I'm gonna have my Pilot coffee here. They gave me a free coffee, and I honestly think they should with the prices of the charging there. It wasn't 69 cents per kilowatt hour like it was in Connecticut, but it was 56 cents per kilowatt hour, and it's operated by EVgo, but there's no discount for EVgo membership at the Pilot Flying J stations. So as you can see, I don't have my hands on the wheel at all, and it's doing a really good job of, well, I say that, and then we just had a little bit of a phantom brake there. But the phantom brake is not really from the hands-free part of the system. It's really cool to be able to go completely hands-free and not have to have a hand resting on the steering wheel. So for those of you who haven't seen my previous videos, first generation Rivian and Tesla vehicles, you tap down twice to enable the system. I don't know if Tesla contacted them and said, hey, you're doing it the same way we're doing it, don't do that, or Rivian just decided to do something different than Tesla. But with the Rivian vehicles, you pull towards you twice on the shift stalk, and to cancel out, you push forward towards the front of the vehicle on the shifter stalk. Of course, if you just want the adaptive cruise control, you pull towards you once, and that'll enable the adaptive cruise. But we can see that this system is just doing really, really well, maintaining the lane, keeping the distance from the vehicle in front, and I haven't had to put my hands on the wheel at all. How cool is that? Anyway, folks, just a quick look at the hands-free Rivian Highway Assist with the Rivian Autonomy Platform in their second generation R1 vehicles. Okay, everyone, apologize for the wind if you're picking that up. Let's go ahead and take a look at the R1S, see what the exterior looks like, and then we'll take a look inside and I'll show you all the new functions and features on the Gen 2. Now, I know I did a review a while back on the same exact vehicle, but there's been several software updates since then. So I think it'd be a good idea to take another quick look in there and see what the vehicle is like today. So obviously I have it charging right now, and you can see the rear light bar is quite a bit different when you compare it to Gen 1. I looked around the outside of the vehicle. I really don't notice too much of anything in the way of defects. There is a small defect in the paint on the hood, which I'll show you in a minute. The other thing I've noticed is the cladding on the bottom there isn't quite as tight as I'd like it to be on a vehicle in this price range. But again, this is kind of nitpicky stuff. Wheels are in good shape. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it from here, but it's almost right in the center of the hood. It looks like a ding, but it's not, because you can only see it at certain angles. Let's see if I can get up on this, if you'll be able to see that. Looks like an imperfection in the paint. It's just a really sharp looking vehicle. Obviously with the dual motor here, we don't have the yellow calipers or of course the turquoise calipers on the new quad motor, which is exciting. But this is the dual max performance, so we have the gray looking rotors there. Still have Rivian written on, which is pretty cool touch. Now, one thing you'll notice different from a Gen 1 to a Gen 2 immediately is there's no camera on the fender cladding there. The camera has been moved up here, and that's because of the blind spot camera that comes up when you put on the flashers. And that's a much better location for it, gives you a much more usable image. But if we look at this mirror on this Gen 2 R1S, we have 3 cameras here. We have 1, 2, and 3. Front windows are not tinted, and I'm not sure what the wife is going to do there. She'll probably wind up getting them tinted. This does not have the dark out package, so the badges and all that are the bright configuration. And if we open up the liftgate here, we can see that this is very similar to a Gen 1 vehicle. All right, one of the things I really like about the R1S, I don't know if these are there on Gen 1 or not, but you can actually touch these lights and get them to come on, and there are a couple brightness settings, but not just these lights. If you go up in here, there's also 2 lights here, one there and one there. If I touch those have the same functionality. So if you have something inside of your cargo area, those can come in real handy. And of course, as we go up to the vehicle to get into it, this being a Gen 2 is electronically actuated, so there's no physical handle on the inside, and there's no physical connection to the mechanism. So when I pull on this, it's actually electronically actuating this mechanism. And then as you can see here, we have a button, and this here is where the old handle used to be on Gen 1. And this still works, but this is an emergency release. You know, so if the battery is dead or something like that and you need to get out in an emergency, you can use that. But this is going to be your primary means for getting out of the vehicle. We did get the all-weather mats. Now, as I'm in the vehicle here, one thing you'll notice immediately, especially if you're coming from a Gen 1, is on the dual motor vehicles, the headliner and the pillar material over here is no longer an Alcantara type material. It's kind of a normal headliner material, which to me is fine. You know, Alcantara is not really necessary. Lighted vanity mirrors, which I'd expect for a vehicle in this price range. Obviously, we have the sound and vision package. So we have the dynamic glass roof, okay? And right now it is in the opaque setting. And the way we do that is we go to controls here and I tap this. And when I turn that off, it'll make it clear. So let's just go ahead and look at it so you can see. I've done this in another video, but when I tap that, it'll turn clear again. And then if I want to diffuse all that light, I tap that button again. Now, the nice thing about the dynamic glass roof is it doesn't make the vehicle dark inside like it would if you had a shade on there. It's also much easier than taking a shade in or out. Now, some folks may want it to be darker inside the vehicle. And if that's the case, I wouldn't get the dynamic glass roof. I would just get the regular roof and then get yourself a shade. Now, my wife wanted the exact same interior that she had on her Gen 1 R1S, and that is the black mountain with the dark ash wood. And one of the things on the tri-motor was that my wife could not get this interior. She could only get the Ascend interior with the warm ash wood, and she really didn't like the brown colored wood. She wanted this dark ash wood color. But you can see everything is mostly the same. We do have this new wireless charging pad down here. The phone still moves. It does prevent side-to-side movement because it has this divider here, but the phone still moves forward and backwards, unfortunately. And so the iPhone will sometimes charge and then it will move and then stop charging while you're driving. Now, as we look at the screen here, one thing I want to point out to you, let's take a look at the energy, because with the Max Pack Performance, we have a lot of range. So let's tap here, and we can see that in all purpose, we have a full charge range of up to 410 miles. Okay, and right now at about 71%, we have almost 300 miles of range, only 70% charged. That's pretty darn good, folks. And we can see in sport mode on a full charge, with the motors engaged all the time, we're gonna have 371 miles of EPA rated range. And at 71% in that same config, we would have about 267 miles of range. Now, this is with the 22-inch sport wheels. Obviously, if you get the range wheels, you'll have a tiny bit more. And if you have the all-terrains, you'll have quite a bit less. And when we go into displays and lighting, we have a lot of similar things here. I will do some video on this infotainment system later, but I'm just going to go through and show you some of the new things that are in here that are not on Gen 1. And that is, the big one is the Rivian Autonomy Platform. And we have lane change on command with that system. I always turn off lane departure warning. I found that it is more of a pain than it is an aid, for me at least, so I leave that off. But we have new software features as well, like smart turn signal and go chime, which is really, really nice. Okay, and we have automatic cameras. A lot of this is stuff that I don't like, this regenerative braking assist. Let's see if I can turn that off. A lot of this stuff has come in software updates. Now, I've always said that's a big part of the value in a Rivian vehicle, is the software updates. So the vehicle you have, the way it is now, is the worst it's ever going to be, because you're going to get over-the-air software updates that are going to not only improve the vehicle's functions, but also add new functions as well. And every new Rivian comes with 2 months of the Connect Plus, which is going to give you priority updates and the hotspot and all that fun stuff. Most of this other stuff is the same. Under data and privacy, you do have an interior camera, and Rivian is kind of really tricked the way they did this. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this. I'm going to try to turn the flashlight on my phone to see if I can expose this camera inside the mirror. I'm not sure if you can see that, folks. So that camera is going to be monitoring you constantly to make sure you're awake and that your eyes are facing forward and you're paying attention to the road ahead. Now, as far as upgrades here, we have Connect Plus. Like I said, we get 2 months free. We can see that our trial expires in July. And we have 2 options, a monthly or an annual plan. And this tells you what's included in that. And I think it's really worth it, folks. Some folks have balked at the $15 monthly charge, but I think you're getting a lot for that. You're getting the hotspot connectivity alone is probably worth the $15 a month, in my opinion. But you also get access to the GearGuard Live Cam, which is going to allow you to check on your vehicle anytime and from anywhere, so long as the vehicle and your device has a cellular connection. The other thing that Rivian has enabled you to do now as well is if you have a regular dual motor, you can purchase the performance upgrade after you buy the vehicle. So if you already have one, or if you're buying a dual motor and you want the performance upgrade, but the dual is the only thing that's available, you can get a dual and then upgrade after to the performance, which is really nice. The big thing here is the drive modes. So when I go into the drive mode screen, I'm going to tell you a couple things here. We can see that we have a dual motor now because we only have 2 motors over here on the right, but we have all-purpose mode is going to be basically conserve mode. And some folks have said they don't like that Rivian automatically disables the rear motors. They want to have the ability to keep all the motors engaged. My wife, for example, wants it that way. And there's a couple ways you can achieve that. You can either put it in snow mode. That'll keep the rear motor engaged all the time, but it will kind of mute the accelerator input a little bit and do some things there. What I would do is, in all purpose, you can turn the stability down to reduced. Now, folks, I don't really recommend that because obviously you're reducing something that's a serious safety feature. So reducing the stability and traction control can be dangerous. Is it likely to be dangerous? Probably not. But again, be aware that you are reducing a very significant safety feature when you do that. But if you put this in reduced, the rear motor will stay on all the time. The other way it'll stay on is if you have a trailer connected. And the way the truck knows you have a trailer connected is when you have the trailer plug connected in the back. And that will also automatically keep that rear motor engaged all the time. If you put it in sport mode, the rear motor will stay engaged all the time. The only problem with sport mode is that locks you into the low ride height. And for ride comfort reasons, you may want to be in the standard ride height and still have all four motors engaged. That's why I bring all this up. And then obviously you have your off-road modes as well. I'll put a link down in the video description to all the different drive modes available on the dual motor Max Performance. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it here for the infotainment screen. I have added, like I said, the all-weather floor mats and this every amp MagSafe phone holder, which is really, really nice if you want to run Waze or something like that on your mobile device right next to the main screen. All right, so that's the tour of the vehicle. As you can see, this is a very nice vehicle, I believe, and Rivian is really running some good specials right now. Remember to use our referral code. Thank you guys so much, because one of the reasons why we were able to purchase this vehicle, or lease it rather, is because of all of you that have used our referral code. And I'm hoping down the road that we'll have one of the new second generation quad motors in our future as well. So we'll have to see how the referrals work out for that. But Rivian is running a huge number of incentives. They just introduced for June an additional $2,000 incentive that can be added and stacked with some of the other offers that they have. So there's never been a better time to get yourself an R1, whether it's an R1T or an R1S vehicle. Remember, down in the description, I'll put up in the screen is our referral code. And if you use that code, we really appreciate it. You will get some reward points, and you'll be able to use that towards some accessories and things for your new Rivian. So thank you guys so much. Let's go ahead and cut in. I'm gonna go into the studio and give you a breakdown of the price. And I'm not gonna tell you all the lease terms, that's gonna be in a future video, but I'm gonna give you a price breakdown of this vehicle so you can get an idea of what you would be capitalizing in a lease, or if you're doing a purchase with cash or a finance, what the cost would have been for us that way. Okay everyone, welcome to the studio real quick. I'm gonna put these numbers up on the screen for you so you can visualize them a little bit better. Credits of $24,941.47. And the vehicle price was $101,700. That includes the destination fee. The vehicle price before the destination and dock fees and all that is $99,900. And the way this breaks down is when we look at the vehicle, the base price for the R1S Dual is $83,900. The max battery adds $6,000. Performance upgrade, $5,000. My wife likes the El Cap Granite, and it is a beautiful color, but that paint adds an additional $2,500 to the price of the vehicle. The Sound and Vision package is really a good value, actually, but that adds another $2,500. So that's how we arrive at the vehicle subtotal. And we did do a 24-month lease. I'll go over the terms of that lease in a future video, but we had obviously the EV lease credit of $7,500. Rivian had a leasing offer on the Dual Max Performance only of $6,500. And then we had a trade-in credit. We traded in my wife's Gen 1, and we had a credit of $7,191.47 that was applied to the cap cost. So it was a cap cost reduction on the lease. We had $1,715.22 in taxes, mainly because we only pay tax on the difference between the trade value and the price of the new vehicle. We had an $895 acquisition fee. Rivian charges a dock fee at the time of this recording of $347. Title and registration fees of $673. Maryland just increased their registration fee by more than 300%. They tripled it. So it got really expensive. And then we also have a down payment showing here of $6,499.53. We used $9,750 in reward points. Okay, folks, so let's take a look at the final numbers. I did not include sales tax or registration fees because those are going to vary based on where you are and all that kind of stuff. I also didn't include the acquisition fee on the lease, which is an additional $895. If we were to finance the vehicle or pay cash for it, the final price on this vehicle would have been $81,758.53. When we lease it, we get an additional $3,500 in incentives from Rivian, and we also get the $7,500 EV lease cash. So that makes the effective price of the vehicle $70,758.53. Either way, it's a lot of value. Now, I did have $9,750 in referral rewards. And obviously, if I didn't have that, the price would have been around $90,000. But I still think that is a very reasonable price for this vehicle. What do you guys think? Let us know down in the comments section. Let's go back out to the R1S and we'll wrap up. What do you guys think of the second gen Dual Max performance? Let us know down in the comments section. As always, folks, remember to like, subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified anytime we add new content. Hug the people you love every chance you get, and we will see you next time.